like I said, this is going to be a special show. So welcome to the stage, Taiwo Odunsi.
Hey, how you doing, my guy?
Yo, this is going to be serious, man.
Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Thanks to the audience. Thanks to Words, first and foremost.
Yo, thank you for being on here, man. So, you know, I told them, like, we're roommates, man. We've been roommates. We were roommates in college, man. So I want to just say, you know, to you, so the world know, I couldn't have had a better roommate. Like, God blessed me with the perfect roommate, because, you know, it could have been the roommate from hell. You know that.
And I had that already. So, yeah, it was my second year. So I had the roommate from hell and then breath of fresh air.
Yeah, we went to SUNY Old Westbury University. Now it was college. They changed it. Yeah, you never know what you're going to get when it's roommates. A lot of y'all out there know what that's like. So I wind up getting somebody that's been, you know, one of my best friends since then and on, and been able to motivate me and inspire me. So that's why he's on this show, to do the same for you guys at home. You listen to what he's done and see his techniques and all these other things that he's willing to share with us, to be such a successful friend of mine and contributor to the world. So let's get to it.
With no further ado. Man.
Yeah. So tell us about your origins, right? Like, you know, your family background and, you know, where you lived at, to, you know, things like that.
Okay, yeah. Born and raised in New York, Lower East Side, LES, and always was a creative person. I remember as a child taking things apart. I remember I took apart an entire radio, showing how analog we were back then, right? But it didn't work. I put it back together, and my parents, who are Nigerians, they moved because of the Biafra War. So they were kind of refugees in a sense. And so, you know, chasing the American dream, coming to America, that whole entire story, and growing up with that pressure of doctor, lawyer, or engineer, and I was the creative black sheep, as it were, and because my mind was constantly trying to understand visual things and putting them together, and I was always you know, sort of rebellious in that way, personality wise. I would always ask questions. I would always ask one too many questions. And growing up, going to Catholic school, going to private schools, you know, you got to follow the rules. And so this is setting the stage for this idea that I had a lot to push against, being who I knew I was inside, which is, I believe all people have this creative spark, this verve, this zest, this vigor inside of them, the voice that tells them, that calls them to be who they're supposed to be.
Right.
And so I had to push against a lot of authority from, you know, I don't regret it. I love it, because that's what makes you who you are, right? Your challenges are what defines your path and your destiny in your life. But those were my challenges. I knew I was a creative, visual, artistic person, but I had that was my upbringing, and I had to find my way through all of that.
So just to give people a little more insight on it too, when we were in college, Taiwo, he did an art gallery, and we collaborated based on him, you know, taking one of my poems, and then he did an art gallery breaking it up with paintings and portraits that would represent my lyrics. So we've always been working together, and he's always been a visual artist in that sense. And then what was it like for you to go from being a visual artist and then turning into an author? How did you make that decision?
Man, so I have to say that was you. You gave me a new perspective on metaphor, analogies, similes, personification, storytelling, really. And I was always, you know, privately, I was always an introspective person.
Okay, hold on. So, now let me get into that.
Okay.
We were in college. This guy was the walk-in proverb. Okay.
In college, really, still?
Still to this day, you know, like every day we be in the room and you say something, he got a proverb for you that fit it. He always had a proverb, something that motivates you. It was never nothing pessimistic. Anything that you can think of, you say something, next thing you know.
A cup, you gotta be water. The cup is not full, but it's empty when it's half. Can't get nowhere with this guy. What is he? I just want to drink my damn water.
Yo, this guy's a proverb master, man. So yeah, so tell us about
it was you lit the fuse. I mean, I was before because it was it was chocolate and peanut butter. It was like R&B and it's when our worlds combined. The visual medium met the verbal linguistic medium, and so all the private thoughts that I had, philosophy, spirituality, whatever, goals, it sort of came to the fore and guided the visual, because before that, the visual was just the visual. I was just focused on the technique.
Right.
I was drawing basketball players. I drew Martin. Bad Boy 2 was pretty good. But I drew stuff that was just part of pop culture.
Right.
But so when I discovered words as poetry, obviously, admired you as a rapper, but you had the poetic side. Yeah. And the poetic side was also, it was deep. It was philosophical. It went inside. And that's when I said, wait a minute, there are visual elements here, metaphorical elements here, allegorical elements here that you need to see, you need to picture. And so I just took off from there. And it was such a great, I still have the book of people signing it. And, every time when I feel like I need a pickup, I either go on YouTube and listen to manifesting videos and all this other self-improvement videos. But sometimes as creative people, you need to look at how far you've climbed. And that book gives me sort of this anchor of look at what you've done. We're always looking forward. We're always looking at the next project and the next project. But sometimes we need to sit in gratitude. And the best way to do that from the standpoint of what Words was talking about, I had this book. It's from the gallery, from the show, and it went so well. And people were just like, they didn't even know who I really was.
Yeah.
And to this day, I meet new people. They go, oh, okay, Big Ty, okay, he's exercising, he's doing this, he's smiling all the time, but they don't know that I have all of this creativity inside. And that's why one of my missions is to push people towards their best creative selves. So
what's it like being an author? What's your warm up to write for the day? So you wake up in the morning, do you have a routine before you get started? What gets you going?
Audiobooks. That's my hack. Over the course of, since I started, I was, 20 years ago. It's been almost over 2,000. Here's the point. Yep. Writers are readers. And the story. Like, if you're going to do something, if you're going to consume, if you're going to be part of the craft and create the craft, you have to consume the craft.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I do. I listen, and, it could be an hour while I'm walking, half an hour while I'm biking, 15 minutes while I'm at Publix, I'm shopping, and it all adds up. It'll be, a couple of books a week just because of the audiobooks. So whatever you consume, it doesn't have to be audiobooks, but depending on your medium, I often say, if you're going to be playing video games, there's got to be something about video games that informs the big picture of your creativity. Maybe you're fascinated with the gaming aspect of it, or the graphical aspect of it, the user interface aspect of it, or maybe you're the kind of person that creates things that injects fun into people's lives. And so through gaming, you get that experience. So the point is that we all get 24 hours. And so if you're going to be a creative person, it's best to consume the right things, because you're going to be producing those things that correlate with the things that you consume.
Yeah, and I like how you said, you know, the reading aspect, like there's another way to read, because I know for me and a lot of other people, hearing, you know, our first audiobook for me was music. Those were my first audiobooks. So in comparison to what you're saying, that's exactly what it was for me, especially through the college years. And when I was telling professors about artists like Nas and other artists, they weren't listening to those audiobooks. They were shaking, you know, that's all they was stuck with the real literary you know, hardcover books and stuff like that. They were missing this whole audiobook version of the music. So I thought, you know, that's interesting that you're saying like that's another way to read, you know, for people. And it really isn't it's represented more now than it was years ago. They probably didn't even understand how well I guess it transferred into Inspire. Like, so you find it to be more transferable, the information, listening, as opposed to picking up the book. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I've done physical books, and a lot of people like the tactile experience of turning the pages. There's something, you know, I think that's the first time we encounter literature, words, stories is through the tactile. So people get attached to that. But for me, I like to be able to look up and enjoy the world as I'm taking in information. The benefits, it's obviously trade-offs. When you're reading, you can jump right back into a paragraph. You can reread the paragraph.
Right.
Or with an audiobook, you're forced to focus. If I know that I'm going to be distracted because there's just too much stimulus going on, there's a garbage truck going on, there's people yelling, I pause the book. I pause it. Because I know, because I know those 10 seconds is a battle. There's a conflict. So these are just the kind of things that you learn from whatever medium you have. If you're going to do physical books, just know that you're limited based on time, and you're going to have a neck cramp.
So I want to revisit that question again. So your morning routine, how does that kind of go into your writing process?
So the routine starts out with consumption. I get up, I go on a bike ride, and I'm listening, and that informs everything, because whatever I'm consuming, I pick a particular topic. So let's say right now the topic is game theory, because I'm actually writing something that uses a lot of that science, the science of human conflict. How do we map and model strategies in our everyday lives?
Okay.
And what can we learn from that? So my overall warm-up / process / strategy is to consume where I want to be. So when I wrote a book, a fantasy magical novel, I was reading Harry Potter stuff. I was reading Lord of the Rings, R.R. Martin. So I make sure to consume the things that are relevant to what I'm producing.
And can you elaborate on how like working out is also something that it's very helpful when it's time to create and writing? I mean, you've stayed at my crib and we've built together, and then, you know, you get me up and I'm out there with you exercising and, you know, doing all these different
you touched your toes the last time.
Breathing techniques and all that, man. Yep, so you get me, you get my mind right, and then there's an understanding. What's that connection like for that to get him prepared as well?
Yeah, so the mind follows the body. You have to get up and start your day. But from a macro perspective, I do a lot of exercises that challenge me. And when I'm completed with those challenges, I say to myself, wow, if I did that, I can do this. That's why I do those things that I do, whether it's, you know, right now it's the ocean. It's expanding the heart muscle. On land, it's doing a handstand and stuff I've learned out here from being out in Miami. The point is that when you have a process, your mind, there's a lot of limitations that we impose on ourselves. And you have to figure out a way to circumvent those negative thoughts, those doubts that you might have that'll sabotage your progress. And so when I exercise, man, aside from the chemical benefits, and you know, the science can get into that, the dopamine, the norepinephrine, the oxytocin, all of these chemicals that go off in your brain that are, you know, feel good chemicals. But then there's the intrinsic feeling of accomplishment. And when you leave at the end of the day, you take a shower, you go, wow, I already feel accomplished.
Right.
And so when you sit down and you write, you're starting from a place of accomplishment. And so now let me accomplish something else. And that's the warm up. And that's how I get to that. I got to put myself in a state. Csikszentmihalyi has coined this term called flow. Basketball players have it. They call it in the zone. It's the same thing. Artists have it. They call it a flow state. You get to a place where you sit down and it's 10 o'clock and you look up and it's 3. And you go, where did the time go? You were in a flow state. And so that's when you know, number one, you did the right prep / warm up for your day, writing, exercise, whatever you're trying to accomplish. And you also know that you're doing what you love. You're doing you're in your passionate place.
Right.
Yeah.
So how about when you're deciding on a concept, what does it take for you to say, man, I want to do this? This one is more important, because you know you have several ideas. How do you know which one to attack and which one is kind of like worth it? You have asked one of the biggest challenging questions that every creative person, which mountain should I climb? Yeah. I'm standing there with my backpack, or I'm in my situation room deciding on which mountain to climb. You have so much creativity and talent in you. Which one, as you just alluded to, which one is worth it? Which one is, man, how to answer that question? Okay, so I keep a log. Okay. I don't know if you do this too. When I have an idea, I put it in a place. There's a special place and you can see all the ideas. And what's great is that I've revisited this log, just like I revisited my cow pattern composition book from the art gallery show. I have this log and I could see brush or solution for razor bumps. I could see a book about the science or psychology of dating. I could see, and there's just a running tally of these. And maybe out of 100, 5 got my attention. So you have to understand, as an artist, as a creative person, whatever you want to call yourself, an entrepreneur, you're going to have a lot of babies. And which one you fall in love with, well, to answer that question is so subjective. It just depends on where you are. It depends on your current capabilities. Right. I couldn't write the book I'm writing now if I didn't absorb a lot of, first of all, a lot of the information that I was absorbing, it just piqued my interest, but I had no idea what to do with it until finally, imagine your brain is like it's a vessel. And as you pour into it, it reaches a level and the water tips over. That's what's happening in your mind. You just don't know it. As you're going out through your daily life, you're consuming ideas, consuming, and there's a welling or a bubbling up. The brainstorm, right? All the water is percolating, it's gestating. And then at some point, I went, I think I'm ready now. Okay. I think I'm ready to write this book. And I think we talked about it last time I visited you. You don't write a book. You take notes. Mm-hmm. And it started out with me taking notes, and the concept started crystallizing. Yeah. It started becoming more clear the more notes I started to take. And the notes means you're just taking your thoughts and you're not just leaving them out into the ether. You're cataloging, you're writing down, you're journaling all the time.
don't wait to write down a certain thought. Don't judge the thought. Just put it down, because you need to make room in your brain for more thoughts. And the only way to do that is to put down the thoughts that are currently in your mind.
All right. So then you're very prolific with writing, right? You have several books. So how are you balancing, after having these thoughts, the quantity? Because you put out a nice amount of books. I'm going to definitely have them up here so people can see them. So, how are you saying, okay, do I put out this many books, or am I sacrificing anything? Where's that, internal struggle like?
Man, yeah, it's this is number 6, and number 6 is nonfiction. Is nonfiction. So this will be my second nonfiction, and the other 4 are fiction. So man, I'm a tough cookie to answer this one, because again, we want to pursue a lot of ideas. When, to go back a little bit, I grew up in Lower East Side, Manhattan. I always wanted to be an artist, and I loved animation. That was my first love. And I wanted to work for Disney. I wanted to go to SVA, and every year, Disney recruited from SVA at the time. I don't know what they still do now, but they would select a group of animators to go intern at Disney. And that's what I wanted to do. That's who I wanted to be. I wanted to be visually on screen.
Yeah.
So a lot of the nonfiction books, I still am working from that place. I'm still working from a place of Kung Fu Panda, Shrek, Inside Out. That's where I eventually want some of my work to be on screen. But then there's this really introspective side of me that, Tony Robbins, you can do it. The motivational side of me that just, I get a kick out of people being fulfilled, people being happy about what they do, because I'm very, I'm very happy with and satisfied and grateful to pursue anything I'm passionate about. And that's why I gravitated so well with Words' message about, finding your purpose, because when you find it, your world opens up. You're already wealthy, you're already rich, no matter what the outcome is, because most people, as Wayne Dyer said, they die with their voice still in them. So I found that a lot of the creative things that I have done, they reflect a side of me. And as long as, so this current project reflects sort of the Neil deGrasse Tyson side of me, the science-y, wanting to understand, the intricacies of not the stars as Neil deGrasse Tyson does, but of human behavior and interaction. I'm also fascinated by the art of storytelling, allegory, meaning, and that's why I wrote a fantasy novel for kids, to tell them, you can follow your dreams, you can follow your passions. I'm also passionate about the climate, about, global warming. So I wrote an allegory involving a little girl who has to save the planet. Yeah. I'm passionate about. I
actually had all of that
right there.
Yeah, I had all. I'm already, I'm reading. I already was gonna go in on it with you.
I'm passionate about animation, so that's why I wrote Cupid's Academy, which is Cupid gets old and he opens up a school for young gods and goddesses.
So let me ask you. So when I'm asking, the previous question as far as quality versus quantity, do you find yourself like, I have to get this out just to keep proving to myself I can do it, and it's important to get this idea out as opposed to sitting on it, despite it being perfect? So where's that? Are you having that argument within yourself of perfection versus production?
Yes, the perfect is the enemy of the good enough. Yeah, so that'll be number 3 in terms of mantras for I'm gonna try to get to 10. What a great one that my art teacher gave me in high school. She said, "Ty, the artist needs 2 people, the art needs two people, one person to create it and another person to say, you're done, it's finished. You know, because we can keep going on a thing. And another thing I've learned too is that now that we are clearly in a world of you know, likes, comments, and feedback, put it out. Yeah, put it out and let the community make your thing better, because they have that capability now. It's not just you and your ego. I never know when when a thing is done. Right now, again, I'm working on this book on human behavior. I got a couple of visual elements, and I'll share some with you, Words, when we finish. But the contributions, the feedback, they're making it better. I'm like, oh, I didn't see that, because I'm waking up every day looking at this work, and I don't see it with clear eyes because I'm too deep in it. And I think, and I've spent so much time on it that I kind of want to, you know, move on, but I don't know how to make it better right now because I'm too invested. Yeah.
So how long does it take you to write, you know, a book? Because you've written several now. What do you think is the estimate of it? Has it been like one book took a year? This book took 2 years. This one took 3. You know, you've written several now. You're on 6. So you got a good experience, maybe a gauge, or is it just, you just never know?
Yeah, oh no, I know now.
Okay.
I can gauge it. It's definitely, the novella is, you know, around 6 months to 9 months, maybe a year.
Okay.
And we're just talking about first draft. And also there's the idea of, what was I going to say? You know, once you have the idea and the concept, you're working on the book, we're talking at least 4 hours a day. So let me just give you all the macro and the micro. From a micro standpoint, you know, an hour in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, because writing is not like, I've often said this before, it's not like stacking boxes. Creativity is not this rote thing that I don't have to think. I just have to, it involves me, my body. And no, you kind of get exhausted. It's like working out. You can only work out for about an hour or so, or I don't know if you're a professional, and then maybe you do something again in the evening. But another benefit is that you have to step away and clear your mind. They say, you know, when you're in the shower, you come up with ideas, something about the white tiles in the bathroom. The point is, you could be on the beach. From whatever perspective people have given me, it's about calming your mind. And that's when the flow of ideas come in. So the biggest book has taken me 2 years, but only because I had to illustrate the chapters. Okay. I had to create this whole world. The Land of Intuit was, it's not just writing the book from one perspective. I had all the characters have a backstory. I had to map out their backstory. I had to map out their conflict. Every single person has a reason for being there. Right. Right. I had to find out why are you here? What do you, you know?
That's another question too.
Oh,
so how do you that the characters were unique and going to be relatable? How did you make sure, like, okay, this one has a morality, because everything has to have some kind of morality, right? So how did you figure that out?
Yeah, from the perspective of what I've consumed in my life, I saw that characters have, there's your protagonist, antagonist, but then there are characters on the side that have meaning to the main character. These are foils. These are characters that allow the reader to understand the main character better. In the Land of Intuit, it was Sophia and Michael, who were mirror opposites of the main character, Jack. I wanted to make those characters. So, for example, she's the more spiritual person. She's the manifesting. She believes in the universe. She follows the astrology, the zodiac, and she believes that, you know, karma, all these things. So many people can relate to that. I wanted to create a character that represented that kind of thinking. And then Michael is more of the hard-nosed Bible thumping, strict character who believes in one thing and one thing only.
Right.
So no one can change his mind. You can't tell him anything. But Jack is the person who wants to know why. He wants to understand the world because he doesn't yet understand himself. So all of these characters are basically spectrums that we all can place ourselves in. Maybe you relate to a little bit of her and a little bit of him, or a little bit of this person. And so the point is that to put all these people in a room and see what happens. Yeah, isn't that how we learn about the human condition and conflict? It's by putting, I don't know, Voldemort and Harry in the same room. We don't want the same things. It's putting Yoda and the Dark Lord, the Sith Lord, in a room and seeing what happens. We know what's going to happen because they sit on two ends of a spectrum. One wants this and the other person wants that. That is the story of our lives. That is the story of human conflict. And when you storytell, the art of storytelling is the art of conflict. One person, Wolverine wants this, but Deadpool wants this. How's that going to play out? It's not just their personalities. Right. Their personalities are governed by their conflict.
So with that in mind, how do you know that you have a good story? Is it based on when you were younger, you liked this movie, this book, this is that? So now that I'm older, I remember what actually had an impact on me. So I want to make sure I have something that's just as impactful on my life for others. Or is it I would assume it might be the combination of that and something else, but how did your upbringing play a role into knowing it's a good story?
Man, that's an even deeper one. And it's a perfect segues, huh? Words, you're good. You're good. The stories that resonated with me were the cartoons, the old school, the Transformers, the G.I. Joes. Knowing is half the battle. They set up a very simple story, but their conflicts were just so basic. And you look at them now, you might look at them with new eyes, but they informed everything. I even drew a little story of my own when I was a kid, and I had it stacked in little paper notebooks, and I would create my own story involving conflict of different characters that I modeled after Spider-Man, after He-Man, and that was my first foray into storytelling. When something is a good story when you can relate to one or more of the characters, and you find yourself saying, "Get out." That's why that movie was so impactful, and that's why it did so well, because we've all been there. We've all sat in the theater and went, "Why are you doing that? Why are you going in there?" That don't make sense. That there's a noise.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna go check it out anyway.
I'm gonna go check it out anyway. Why not? Yeah. But we as the audience know, as the audience have the privilege of knowing the 10 other people that succumb to that noise.
Yeah.
Right. Now we're sucked in because we're seeing number 10 maybe make the same mistake.
Yeah.
And that's the art of storytelling right there. It's creating a pattern. It's creating a condition or a situation that we can all relate to and seeing how this is going to play out. Is this time going to be different? Is James Bond finally going to do this? Is Tom Cruise's character finally going to get this?
Right.
Because that's what we do in our lives. We're all asking the same question. Am I finally going to get that job? We may not be fighting Voldemort, but that's who our boss is to us.
Right.
Our boss is the Dark Lord. And are we finally, or our coworker who's trying to steal our job? We all have our opposition. And that's what storytelling involves. You have to create something that opposes the main character's goals and desires. and you have to make that opposition so stake heavy. If I don't get this,
Right.
this is gonna, it's the end, right? It's
Yeah.
the end of the world. It was always the end of the world every time I watched G.I. Joe. It was always, the stakes were always high.
And they always survived when they shot the helicopter. They always jumped out with a parachute. He was like, nobody dies on G.I. Joe. It blew it up. Everybody's parachutes. Nobody never died in G.I. Joe. Now you can watch cartoons. It's a little more brutal. Things a little more. But back in the day, that was the main thing. Like, and you see, I'll get you another time. Like parachute. Every shot, anything shot down had a parachute.
I love watching animation now, and we constantly give each other recommendations because people actually get stabbed. People get shot.
How about Up?
But we didn't grow up with that.
How about Up? The wife dies. Like, there's actually some emotional connection on a whole nother level in these cartoons and these animations. Like, they're able to really be more connecting to more real life situations. So yeah, there's a lot of it's been a lot of it's evolved and ideas are developing. So as you're creating as well, do you ever feel like, let me come back to this? Like you said earlier, you got to step away. What are those things that you're doing as you step away? Do you go somewhere else? Do you, for me, I might just go to the fridge and just kind of turn the TV on, watch YouTube, play a game, all these other things and try to figure it out.
Yeah, it's you're solving a puzzle, and you need mental breaks. Yeah, I've already sort of touched on, I don't believe in writer's block. I think we've had many conversations about that whole idea, and it's a perennial debatable myth, whatever it is. I think that, you're not just blocked, you may be fatigued. You maybe need to just, part of the process is stepping away. Part of exercise and building a heart muscle or an arm muscle or even a mental muscle is stepping away and letting the repair process take over.
Okay. And then how do you approach the revision as far as like, I remember, me hearing your book, kind of like the description of your book, and then you're like dealing with, maybe a page, maybe it's just a page or a paragraph. How many times do you may approach it or like rewrite it, or what's that process like for you, the revision process?
Wow. I've counted, like, just, for shits and giggles, just counted, like, let me see. And I save every iteration. I back up my stuff, and I don't save over the backup. I have a new backup, and I'm constantly revising. It's a constant words. You keep coming back to something, and your eyes are fresh, and you go, man, I didn't see that before. You weren't supposed to. No, it's not how the process works. The process, perfection doesn't come out. And that's the thing, younger people, if you're lucky, if you're talented, if you have all of these boxes checked, great, good on you, congratulations. But for us mortal people, gestation is the key. It's nothing. We borrow from the past, and we take a baton from George Lucas, from other great storytellers, Chinwe Onwuchebe, I'm mispronouncing his name. All Things Fall Apart.
Yeah.
We borrow from the past, and we keep going, and we take from the great storytellers of our predecessors, and we take the kernel of what's true about what they've written, and we try to let that guide our writing process. But to get to that point where you've created something where you go, wow, this is actually really good because I'm getting towards something here, even that is going to change. And so you can either keep changing that yourself, or you can let other people inform the change. Look at products. Right. Look at what the iPhone the iPod is turned into the iPhone, and it's an iterative process. That's how I would quickly answer your question. You have to make sure you use evolution. It's iterative from a product standpoint.
And then I'm always curious. Also, I ask this question a lot of writers: is what's your atmosphere for creating? Are you dealing with morning, nighttime? Are you dealing with lights lower, dark room? You know, people in the studio got lava lamps. They got all these different things. What's
your mood? You got to say,
what's your perfect moment or mood that you need to write? Beach, all of that stuff.
I actually like being around other people who are hustling.
Okay.
I don't know if you feel the same way. Like if you're, writing, man, I want to know your answer to this too. That's an amazing question. I like it when other people are posted up, usually people I know, but other people are posted up who are, okay, you working on your joint? Okay, I'm working on my joint too. And oh, you didn't put your head down? Oh, maybe I got to put in a little more extra hour. Again, it's like working out. We mirror each other. It's mirror neurons. Where monkey see, monkey do better. We look at each other and we go, okay, I need to lift my knees and pick up my feet because, that's part of our ancestral history. If you ain't pick up your feet, if you were the slow poke, you didn't eat. You had to keep up with the herd. So there's something for me, a setting where, again, physically, the physical muscle or the mental muscle, it's encouraging to have other people who are just as focused. And I think that's why we propelled each other so well in our younger years in college.
Yeah, and I can add on to that sentiment from the years talking to you, and now that's why I like doing this. Like I always tell people, that is because now I get to hear that perspective, and it puts another puzzle piece into the puzzle I have of you. When I used to call you a lot, you would be like, "I'm in Barnes and Noble. I'm in Barnes and Noble." You would stay in Barnes and Noble. Now I understand you like the environment of seeing the people like-minded working and things like that. So that makes sense. Also, you like to work out and there's people around. And so getting that energy. So it's wild because now I'm understanding why you were at Barnes and Noble. I didn't know that you were at Barnes and Noble for that particular reason. I just thought, the environment, you could research there, things like that. But now
surrounded by books and that's secondary reasons as well. But primarily, this was the time where, financial crash, you had a lot of people trying to rediscover or discover what they were about. And, you would only need to be one of these people to see it, the rise of the laptop worker in a Starbucks or in a Barnes and Nobles. It got to a point where Barnes and Nobles, they would lock off their outlets. Because the plugs, because people were just posting up, and I noticed this because obviously I was one of them. And I was like, I can't post up here no more. My laptop is finna die. So, but yeah, it was like, the financial crash, and that's when Shark Tank came up, and because slowly but surely the independent worker, the rise of the creative class, as Richard Florida writes, we're growing in number. We got to find a way to support ourselves. And we usually do that by following our creativity. And we did that on our laptops and Barnes and Nobles. That was my second home, bro.
Yeah. And then I think also to be a creative and as prolific as you are doing things, that also has to be a sense of, if I don't do it, it's not getting done. So despite, Barnes and Noble is closed, you can still lock in by yourself.
Yep.
Having to have that,
Yeah, it was, that was only one post up place. And I had a routine in the morning, more colored detail to your previous question. I would get up, again, the morning routine, the workout routine. During the workout, depending on how vigorous the workout was, I'd have my listen, and then I'd get ready for the day, and I would post up at Barnes and Nobles. And then the second post up was a different project. I needed to change locations so that my brain felt like I was starting a new path. I was climbing a different mountain.
Dope.
And it felt like a new day. So I'd go from Barnes and Nobles to the Poet's House. I did a lot of Tribeca was great. By Tribeca, Battery Park City in New York, for those of you who are familiar with it, because I loved being by the water, the environment of not having the buildings block the sun. That was something that I was drawn to. And so I would work 2 to 3 hours at Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah.
Because I knew I needed that refresher. I knew I couldn't just stack boxes for that long, and I needed to just get up and move. So I'd get up, walk across the West Side Highway over to the Poet's House, or there was a New York Public Library next to the Poet's House, and then I'd work on Wizker. And then I'd work on Wizker for 2-3 hours, and then I'd go to Brookfield Place. Or I would hop on the train just to avoid the rush hour at 4 o'clock, and then I'd go to the Brooklyn Public Library, the main branch. And I would finish 2 hours there. And then I would walk home, and during the walk was an hour of audiobook. So that was my process. And that was going on, that's how, use the word prolific. That's how it happened.
So how did you go from we're starting, like, as far as you doing the visual art, then you did fashion design, and you designed clothes for, I believe, Guess, Hilfiger, different brands. You did that. And then eventually, sometime from doing that, you're also being motivated, listening and trying to find this, I guess, people like you are like, okay, I don't mind working here for somebody else, but I got ideas that I need to eventually be my own person, my own time, own schedule type of thing. So how did you go from, like I said, visual art, fashion design, and then you create this dope product called the Wizker to prevent razor bumps? So how do you get to that and becoming an author? How does all this come to that?
I know when I meet new people, and that question inevitably comes up, right? What do you do? I go, damn.
Never.
Well, I'm a creative person. I say entrepreneur. I say creative person. I'm still trying to figure out a way to just, people like quick, short answers.
Did the writing led to the Wizker? Because that's what I'm trying to connect it.
Yeah. So writing, because in the writing process, I was journaling. And as I journaled, I was trying to find solutions to problems. And I had always been told through some of the books I read about the creative process. My first book is about the creative process and how people can tap into these 3 principles to be more creative. I learned that one of the tools is writing down all of the problems that you might have. Oh, I can't tie my shoe right, or this thread keeps coming off, and one of the problems I had always struggled with was razor bumps and ingrown hairs. And so much of what Wizker is storytelling, is writing. It's not just a brush, it's a whisker. I have to tell a story to an audience that doesn't know that this is a solution. So how do I tell that story?
Right.
Well, it's, happy, smiling people who have great skin on the beach. There's a story in the packaging. There's a story in literally the design of the layout of the bristles, because it's patterned after a seed in a palm tree. So there's a storytelling aspect, and nothing about what I do doesn't have a conscious element to it. And that consciousness is part of writing and storytelling.
Okay, so it's finding your main thought process is pretty much like, because I know you, so I got to kind of get into it, do it with you. But I know your thing is you're very solution oriented, like oriented. So you like to find solutions for things like that, and then pretty much you come across inventing this product, and then was the process of bringing it to life similar to writing? What are the similarities of bringing the book to life that are the similar challenges to bringing the product to life?
Wow, these questions, bro. This is a curveball. All that you throwing straight pitches. Now you're gonna, wow. What are the similarities? Bringing a product. So I knew nothing about either process.
Cool.
As they say, you build a plane in the air. I had to build both planes. I had to learn about the writing process as I was writing. I had to learn about creating a product as I was creating the product. You learn from failing. You learn from iterating. It was a learn as you go process. With books, it's different. As I said earlier, the similarities with both is that I have the same approach. I consume as much relevant data as I possibly can that matches onto the thing I'm doing.
Got it.
If you want to be a great swimmer, you watch other swimmers.
Yep.
You don't just spend time in the water. You watch the greats. You consume nothing but water, aqua-based activities. That's what I was doing. I was watching Shark Tank all the time. I was reading 0 to 1, Think Different, Tim Ferriss, Robert Kiyosaki, anyone who's created anything remotely product or service oriented. I would figure out what they did. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. What they did. And that's the same thing when I started writing books. I would consume the thing that I was trying to do.
So I just heard you mention some of the books. So what are the recommendations you give? Like maybe like just give us like 2 or 3 that you say like that really spawn
for products or for storytelling.
Either or, it could be both.
Yeah, for storytelling, Joseph Campbell.
Okay.
Hero with 1,000 Faces. George Lucas swears by this book. Joseph Campbell has written what he thinks and millions of other people believe are the archetypes to every single story you can recollect right now. Jesus, Arjuna from the Bhagavad Gita, Luke, Harry Potter, the hero's journey, Odysseus. He links the templates of the storytelling process, and for writing and for screenplays, Save the Cat is really good. That's a lot of people recommend that. Books, nonfiction for product entrepreneurship. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. You have 0 to 1. I think it's Peter Thiel. You have Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay.
So there's many others that maybe we can put a link because I have these saved somewhere and I can share them with the audience.
Yeah. So, man, it's been dope having you, brother. So share your social media links and how people can get in touch with you, find all the books. I'll have links in the description as well. So everybody watching, go down in the links in the description to support. But where would they find you, social media and all that other stuff? Where you want people to go?
Yeah, you can go to whiskerskin.com. Whiskerskin on Instagram or whisker.com. I'm the Whisker Man. Until I they call me Mr. Ty. And that's another persona that's coming out with this other book, where I think people will be very, very inspired and just deconstructing relationships and things like that I think most people care about in their lives. But you can find me on Wizker. It's all about smooth skin and helping people out and with their skincare routine.
Dope, man. So, thank you for being on the show, spending time on here, man. Probably call you later and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
How we text and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate having you as a friend, motivation, inspiration, someone to call, talk to about every and anything. Someone that I played NBA Live with until 2K came out.
I've yet to win a game. Y'all don't understand how much of a lock Words has on his game.
Yeah.
Thank you for not mentioning it. Thank you for letting me be the one to. talking
Man,
about the undefeated record.
so crazy, man. Having the game systems inside the college dorms and then just like to where we are now has been just special,
Yeah.
man. So, thank you again. Make sure y'all go support. And like I always say, what are your words worth?
Hey.
Peace, y'all.
Hey.
Yeah, man. Sign up now at elevate.miami.edu for my course, Organized Rhyme. Looking at the word legacy, while involving some wordplay, I'll use the first syllable to build upon. We'll use the first syllable, leg. For the second syllable, we'll use an. And for the third syllable, we'll use the word knee. So now we have leg and knee. Can we use it in context with legacy? Let's just see. Wordsworth Productions with a S.com for all merch. I got 2 books available right now. Words Are Worth Volume 1, and I also have a children's book called Socks. Age range from 12 to 15, so it's kind of like the middle school and high school age range, but adults can read it as well. Shout out to our sponsor, the Wizker. If you're into skincare, the Wizker will help prevent razor bumps and make sure you got smooth skin all around. Make sure you order it on Amazon, the Wizker. Make sure you check out wordsworthproductions.com. There you can book me if you want to book me for shows, consultations, panels, and things of that nature. And also it'll give all the upcoming shows that I'll be attending or performing at or appearing at as well. Wordsworthproductions.com. We write plays, books, movies, anything that deals with writing and creativity. Contact us.